Okay, there's a Pashas Kisavai. Obviously, we're going to start off with a Maisa, and this Maisa that I want to start off with is about the Shloh HaKadosh, who was buried in Eretz Yisrael, and I wanted to talk a little bit about Kedushas Eretz Yisrael. So, without getting into any political discussions, strictly Lishma, Kedushas Eretz Yisrael, and everything like that. So the Maisa is with the Shloh is as follows. I thought I can't find it right now, but I'll just say it over by heart. That the Shloh had a big yearning to go over to Eretz Yisrael. And as you know, if you go to Tveria, you can see he's buried in Eretz Yisrael, right near the Rambam, and a whole bunch of other Kfarim. So the story when he came to Eretz Yisrael was that when he lived in Europe, so he was a Rav in many different cities, and he was a wealthy person, so he had 80 people by his table every Suda. So he was, helped the Aniyim or people who needed, whatever the story was. Right here, and in those days they ate with silverware, and a whole bunch of spoons were missing. So, the spoons were missing, so of course they were chayshit somebody who took the spoons. And there was one person who took the spoons, and they made a bedika, they checked his belongings, and they found the spoons. So they gave them back to the Shloh, but that person was so embarrassed that he was the one who stole it, so he ran away from the city, and he was pyrik oil from all resemblance of Yiddishkeit, and he ran away, but not because he was bayit in it, but he was embarrassed. Anyways, those days he ran away to Turkey, and in Turkey, which he became like an ambassador. Turkey was then controlling, I think it was the Ottoman Empire, can I say? He was controlling, they were controlling Eretz Yisrael, so he got a job as like the tax collector of the city of Yafo. Okay. Anyhow, the Shloh got a passport that he's able to travel to Eretz Yisrael, so he went to Eretz Yisrael, and the port in those days, the Ikka port was in Yafo. So he comes to Yafo, and this minister, the ambassador, whatever he was, he recognized the Shloh. Shloh did not recognize him because when he saw him last, he was, dressed like the Erel Chiyid, and now he was dressed obviously differently. So this person who used to be his Talmud came and greeted him very nicely and said, "You have to come to my house and take you in." So figured if the ambassador calls you in, you go. So he came and he said, life has been very good to me, and he showed him like a beautiful house and all the furnishings and all the thing. And he said, "Look how much I have and how beautiful everything is." And Shloh was looking and said, "Very nice." And then this person asked the Shloh if he could speak to him privately. He said, okay. So he came with a helper. So he sent the helper home, and this ambassador sent his helper also out of the room. And then when they were there alone, the ambassador takes the Shloh and he pulls out a sword, and he says, "I'm going to shecht you right here, right now. I want you to say vidui." And so, of course, he chapta pachad. He was very, very scared. Like, why is this happening to me? So he says, "I'm not saying vidui because why should you want to kill me?" And the guy said he wasn't joking, and he said, "Say vidui right now, or I'm going to kill you, and you're going to die without vidui." And so, but less breira, so he closed his eyes. He said vidui. He said Shema Yisrael. The guy takes out the sword, and he feels it on his neck, and he was about to kill him. Then he pulls it back, and he puts it on his side, and he said, "I be'etzim did not have an intention to kill you." So Shloh looks at him and says, "What did you do? Why did you do this to me? Put me through this tremendous agus nefesh?" She said, "I'll tell you." He says, "When I was young, there were spoons stolen from your house, and it was found in my possession, and I taka stole it. But I had such bizyonis from it." He says, "And since I know that you are like a tzaddik gomer, you Shloh a tzaddik gomer, but you have this one little aveira on you that you caused me so much busha, Therefore, I wanted to put you into such a matzav that you should say vidui mole kavana in order that you'll have a complete kapara, that when you go upstairs to Shemayim, you won't have any cheshbonis on your head. So really what I did to you, what you look at it as a bad thing, I did it to you, that you should have a complete kapara. And then he sent him on his way, and he gave him all kinds of gifts, and it was Shalom al Yisrael, and that was the Maisa with the Shlah coming into Eretz Yisrael. And you could say, since Eretz Yisrael is Niknas B'Yisurim, he was Yetzirah. Okay, so now that was the story Shabbai. So I asked last week in Pashas Kitzesei, I mentioned it here, it bothered me, why does it say every time, ki, every ki, Kitzesei Zlamol Chama, ki Yakarei, kan Tzipar, or ki Yela Ish Ben Saira Mara. Bothered me, why don't you use the Lashon im? Why don't you use the Lashon ki? So the answer that I thought of was because since everything in the Torah originates from Maisa Bereshis, and Maisa Bereshis, what is the thing by Yehi, or what does it say right afterwards? And when it said, ki taif. So therefore, every time it says in the Torah ki, it's really referring you to ki taif. That whatever's going to happen, kol man da'avid rachmana l'tav avid, everything will become good. Like he says, you're going to worry, you're going to get killed in war. Rabbi Shalom says, whatever happens to you, no matter what happens to you, it'll be for the good. Either you'll get schar or einish b'hayalmo. If chas v'shalom something bad happens, so you'll have a schar la'asa, you'll have a kapara la'asa lavai. So therefore, every time it says ki, is the taich ki taif. This parsha starts off a little bit different. It says v'haya ki savai. So there has a v'haya first. Why don't you just say like it said in last week's parsha? Ki say. Why don't you say over here ki savai ela aretz? You'll be chayav arla. That's what it's talking about. Teretz says, since we know that Eretz Yisrael is Niknas B'Yisurim, and we have also the klipa of the Meraglim who came and said Lashon Hara on Eretz Yisrael, that it's a difficult land, so therefore you need an extra siyata d'shmaya. V'haya is Oisiyas Havaya. Therefore, v'haya ki savai, when you go into Eretz Yisrael, daf Magen Arayin, you have to go in with that extra protection of Shem Havaya, that whatever you're doing, it should be with that extra protection of v'haya. Now we know that in the Shem Havaya, the first two Isiyas is considered a shame. Yud K we know is a shame. Second two Isiyas are not a shame. So how do you see, so to speak, the protection of two Isiyas which are connected, but it's not a shame b'fnei atzma? So now, the gematria of the Vav and the Hey is 11. How many tzirufim do you have in the Aleph base that will total 11? It's only a few, which they are. There's only 5, which is a Vav and a Hey, a Zayin and a Dalid, a Ches and a Gimel, a Tes and a Beis, and a Yud and an Aleph. Those 5. The gematria of those 5 tzirufim which make up those Isiyas Vav Hey is 55, which is the gematria Hein. So what are we seeing from that? Because in Pasuk in Iyov says, Hein Yiras Hashem Hi Chachma. That this Hein, that this Vav K, which is merumas in the word Hein, because those 5 tzirufim make up the 55, which is the Hein, those are meramas in it, Yiras Hashem. So, to take it like a little bit further, we know what's Pshat Yiras Hashem. Then what's Torah? What's the gematria of Torah? 611, right? What's the gematria of Yiras? Also 611. So it's showing you, and since we say that Hakol b'dei Shemayim chutz miYiras Shemayim, because Yiras Shemayim is not totally in the Elyonim, it's only totally in Tachtoinim, and we know that the Vav Hey of Shem Havaya is totally Ma'aser Tachtoinim. So you see that the Yiras Hashem, which is from Yena Pasuk of Hein Yiras Hashem Hi Chachma, is coming from Ma'aser Tachtoinim only, which is the Vav Hey in Shem Havaya. Now I happen to be learning Birkas HaPeiros, but it fits right in here. As you know, the beginning of the parsha starts off with Arla, right? What's Arla? Only Birkas HaPeiros, right? Birkas Ilanis, I should say. The din Arla is only on Peiros, it's not on Tvua, right? Am I right? Bikurim, I'm sorry. Okay, Bikurim is only on fruit of the tree? What? Okay, so let me change that a little bit. I messed it up with the Arla. But anyways, we see, can leave that part out. But we see that there's a higher bracha in the pre than there is in the Ha'adam. It's a higher madrega. That's, and you also know that generally speaking, all the fruits that grow from a tree, you can eat them straight. And all the things that grow from the ground all require a tikkun. If it's irim or chitim, you have to grind it and bake it. If it's a potato, you have to cook it. All the vegetables, not everything. Some you could eat raw, but generally speaking, things that grow from the ground need a tikkun, and things that grow. Why? Because since when it grows from the tree, Kamei Shehu, that was like before the Chet Adam Harishon, before Noach, they were able to, it grew bread on the tree, which was a chiddush, but if you think about it, not such a chiddush. I could grow an apple on a tree and I could eat it just the way it is, right? What? Nuts also, you can eat the way they are. You crack it open, you take out the nut. I'm saying, I didn't say every single thing. I said generally speaking. Anyhow, chita has its own bracha and so forth. So I was thinking, what's the pshat? Why is the bracha more so by a tree as it is than gedulei karka? Because in a tree, it's coming from a ilan. What's ilan gematria? 91. 91 is already a zivug of Havaya Adnus. Havaya Adnus is already doesn't require tikkun. So it's just so too, just like the Elan doesn't require a tikkun, so the parrots that are coming off in a tree also don't require a tikkun. Then we come to one very unique one very unique, we'll call it a vegetable, which is an onion. We know that onion is a few things. We spoke about the olam ha'igulim. We spoke about the layers that you see in every onion, and you see it in the olam before we switch to yosher. So it's keneged onion, right? And the onion has layers just like it. It has a kav in the middle where that's the shirish. That's where it gives out all the sustenance to all the layers, right? So that's Rabbanu Shalom created the world with Tzelem Elokim, which is Miloshen Batzel, right? So you see the Igulim are coming from the Batzel. So Habach Getracht Azoi. The Maisa, one of the only fruits or vegetables that make a person cry is the onion. You cut up an onion, you end up crying, right? So what is the pshat that you should, why dafka an onion, which is representing the Bria Ha'olam, that you should be crying by it? So we know that the word Bechia is the same oisius as the word Yehavcha, Beis Chaf Yud Hey, or Yud Hey Beis Chaf. And how do you teach the word Yehavcha? Hachlech al Hashem Yehavcha Hu Yechal Kalecha. What's Yehavcha? Yehavcha is Ka, the Yud K, Becha, inside you. Right? So Bechia is also miramas that. So if a person wants to do tshuva, so he'll have a Bechia which is representing the Ka, Becha. Right? And how do you see it in the whole Bria? Because the Becha is represented, how much is Becha? Is 22. That's the Chaf Beis Aisiyah. So you see that in the Bria, the whole Bria is merumas and yena onion. So, and we know that Sharid Mois Einam Nishlavais. So the Rebbeinu Shalom created the Bria with always like an escape hatch. That escape hatch is the Bechia, which is coming from the onion. So you always know that that Shared Mois and in the Shlovis, no matter what, you always have some place to go. One more thing I wanted to say. If you know that this week's parasha talks a lot about the klola, right? So what's the antidote for a klola? We know what's bracha. I'll go back to the tree. What's called bracha? Bracha is that something grows by itself, right? So a vegetable I have to replant every year. It doesn't go by itself. Ilan is bracha. It keeps on going every year. Mishana l'shana. I don't have to do anything. So you see the ultimate bracha could go back to that thing of Ilan, which is the zivug of Havaya Adnus. That's where bracha is. Klala is, let's say a akar or a saris. There's no continuation. That's called klala. What's the antidote for klala? So it's merumas in the word klala. What's klala? It's halal kuf, right? If you say halal, what's a bracha? A bracha is a praise for Kudsha Bricha, which is a halal. So if a person's chas v'shalom is under that hashpah of a klala, so the answer is, like you see, there was a magefa by David HaMelech, and what was the antidote? Make 100 brachas a day. So you see that the antidote for a bracha is meya brachas l'yom. So on that note, what? Antidote for a klala is meya brachas l'yom, which we pretty much do anyhow, and if we don't, we should make sure we do, and that's the ultimate tikkun. And on that note, we should have many, many Birkas Shemayim.